And Liz, you're welcome to go ahead and share your screen whenever you're ready.
Excellent. Thank you, Taylor. Let's start going. Just a minute. Small technical problem. All good. Welcome, everyone. Taylor, is my screen up?
Yep, you're coming through clear.
All right, perfect. Welcome, everyone, to Crow Canyon's annual meeting. I'm so glad to see so many participants have joined us, and I imagine that many of you have been joining our webinars for the past year, so you've probably got this process down. But I wanted to open up first with a couple of helpful hints. If you are not used to being on a Zoom webinar or video conference, just so you know, we'll be having some slides and videos, and we definitely don't want our heads to interfere with your enjoyment of those. So you can just go over to where the heads are and grab the black bar and move them over to the right. We also have a live transcription, closed captioning on. So if you'd like to follow along in that way, that would be fantastic. And lastly, we're going to have a Q&A session at the end. If you'd like to put your questions in at any time during any of the presentations so that you can remember them for later, please use the Q&A rather than the chat. The chat tends to have people saying hello to each other, and sometimes we miss the questions if they become buried in the chat. And we will try really hard to get to all your questions. And if you don't, and you still feel like you didn't get your question answered by the end, please feel free to email me or any one of us. Our emails are all on the website, and I am L. Perry at crowcanyon.org. So I also wanted to, before we jump into the annual meeting, because this is a form of a webinar, is just an enormous thank you to all of you. If you joined us at the webinar on Thursday, you'll know that we were so close to meeting our webinar goal, our webinar challenge match goal. One of our trustees had pledged $50,000, and if we were able to match that from our webinar viewers this year, then we would start next year with an extra $50,000 to be able to devote to the series, to making it even more exciting and fabulous than it is now. So thank you so much to all of our viewers. We were very relieved to be able to hit that mark by today, by our annual meeting. All right, with that, I will turn it over to our board chair, Ricky Lightfoot.
Good morning, everyone. I thank you so much for joining us in what I believe to be our 39th annual meeting of the Crow Canyon Archaeological Center. As most of you know, we typically initiate our meetings with a prayer from one of our Pueblo Indian board members or advisors. Joseph Swina, our board member from Cochiti Pueblo, is not able to join us today. He had important responsibilities this morning that he had to attend to, so he's going to miss this meeting. So I hope you'll forgive us for skipping that. I do want to acknowledge that the Crow Canyon Archaeological Center is on land that was traditionally occupied by Pueblo Indian, Ute, Paiute, Dene, and Hickory Apache people. So these are their homelands where our institution sits, and it's also their homeland where we conduct our work. It wouldn't be possible to do the research and education programs that we do without the participation and involvement of American Indians and the connection that we have to the past, the present, and the future in their communities. We're really grateful to all the Indigenous people who participate and support our preservation and protection efforts. And so we're just very grateful to them. I also want to just remind you of Crow Canyon's mission, which is to empower present and future generations by making the human past accessible and relevant through archaeological research, experiential education, and American Indian knowledge. So with that, I welcome you to the annual meeting of the Crow Canyon Archaeological Center, and I'm going to turn it back to Liz to introduce the next segment.
Thank you so much, Ricky. We're extremely excited. We've been working hard on preparing some presentations and some videos and some updates for all of you so that you'll be able to get a sense of what we've been doing here for the past year at Crow Canyon. We have been really, really busy, COVID notwithstanding. We have been working with each other and working with participants and students and teachers digitally, as well as when we were able to do it safely in person. So I'm hoping that everyone will really enjoy what we have to show you today. Our staff has made some wonderful presentations to show you what they've been working on and their accomplishments with respect to our mission this year. As folks know, we like so many other organizations and businesses had to shut down for a while and work remotely, and then we were able, actually when weather improved, to be able to come back and work outside together on campus. And a huge part of our mission is public education and student education. And it was really, we had to become somewhat innovative to be able to deliver on that mission. So I wanted to start out our presentations today with a little video we put together that kind of shows how we started to figure out how to pivot and engage with our stakeholders digitally. So Taylor, I will turn it back to you to show the folks what we've been doing.
See what everything, you know, is talking about for the most part. It's going
Okay, talk a little bit.
Hello, welcome to Crow Canyon Archaeological Center. This is a
Structure. Yeah. Not a village, because technically a village would be bigger.
Be bigger. You got it. And you can talk. York.
Pueblo Village, or room block cut. Sorry.
On those lines, right? So lost it.
Would be a dart. I can't think of words right now. I guess we have to cut that.
All right. What's it? Yeah. No. Right. Seriously, Becky?
You got bookers up
serious,
your nose.
Dude. That's better.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. Tell me when we're rolling.
Sorry.
That's good. We're rolling when you're ready.
Tool is goes by the name of atlatl. Okay, let's do that one again.
Okay.
Toss-its for playing with your dog. All right, stop there. Good.
Okay, start whenever you would like.
Okay. I just put it on hold for a second. Let me think about this.
Okay.
When you combine that dart with the atlatl, there's a tremendous amount of force. All right, I didn't like that at all. But, yeah.
Hang on a second.
What?
And filled in by natural forces. So, can we start over?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Here, how's my hair look?
Beautiful.
Fabulous.
It's actually totally sticking up.
Is it where?
Like right in the middle.
I'm having a bad hair day.
No, dude. To really, really small tools. Maybe things like, that's not a tool. We have Give me a small tool.
The ancestors of contemporary native peoples now living throughout the U.S. Southwest. Do we want to...
Doing that every time.
Do we just hit the circle here? Get it to stop?
Yep. How did we get here a half hour early?
I was hauling ass. River was low, so the mule could cross the creek if he wanted, but he did not.
No swear words or horrible things.
Pineapple.
Pineapple?
Yeah, sure.
Pineapple.
Pineapple. So I'm gonna go ahead and say pineapple.
Leave what you find and, wait, what was it? Leave what you find and leave the mission. It's really important at sites like this to take only photographs and leave only
sacred landscape, complex human history. And we can break them down one at a time too.
I know these things too. Is that what he said? It's hard.
Cue cards.
Yeah, for over several thousand years. All right, I'm gonna redo that.
You're good. You're good.
Start, sir.
Yeah. Okay. You're probably already filming, aren't you? Availability. Okay. These are fragile places. For example, this tree here. Grew with the bark. Oh my God, I had it for a second. Times now.
Unique thing for this time period in this part of the Southwest, and thanks for listening.
Thanks for watching, everyone. It was kind of a rough start trying to get used to filming ourselves. We were all a little bit nervous trying to get that going, but as I think you'll see through some of the rest of the videos, we did get a little bit better, mostly thanks to our incredible videographer, Laura Brown, who's the one behind the camera saying pineapple, which is a signal to all of us to stop talking if we don't want what is being said to be on film. So I wanted to take a second as we move into the next project that we'd like to update you about and introduce Becky Hammond. Becky, if you could turn on your camera so that folks could see you. There you are. So Becky has been with Crow Canyon for something in over 25 years. 23 years. Okay, pretty close. I first met Becky when I was an intern at Crow Canyon in 1995, and she was one of the inaugural members of our Native American Advisory Committee. And that was one of the things that I was fortunate enough to be able to do as an intern, was to try to work with that advisory committee and help get them their coffee and anything else that they wanted to make them comfortable while they were helping us at Crow Canyon. So now Becky is the manager of our American Indian Initiatives and Outreach, and I'm so fortunate to have her as a friend and partner and colleague as we develop and grow these initiatives. And one of the really exciting initiatives that we started this year was our Elder Voices Project, and I'd love to turn it over to Becky to just give us a little update.
Sure. First of all, I just want to say thank you to everybody who believed in this project and still does. And, we were able to receive over $82,000 for this project. And, just because, COVID has been out there, and it is, we know throughout all of Indian country, we're losing a lot of our elders because of COVID, and other reasons that, people get sick and other stuff. And it's really, important to be able to video our elders and to keep that history. And I've been very fortunate because I've been able to go into Toyac and White Mesa, and videos, some of our elders talking about, old dances that we rarely do and what the songs mean. And so I was fortunate to video, I forgot his name, Jack Can't See Senior, who's 81 years old. And, I get a little like, why should I do this? And all I say is, the history that you give to our kids, your grandkids, your great grandkids, all this knowledge when you're not here, what would you like to say to them? And, they really think about it and, think about what is really important to them. And so I've been fortunate to do a number of videos, and I even videoed one of our staff members, Susie, yeah.
John, yeah.
Susie John, who works in the kitchen. And she was kind of hesitant too. And, and part of that other story and knowing, it's like, what do we want to teach kids here at Crow Canyon? What would you like them to know about your culture? And so, the thought is that our people, our Native people, they would have that for their community. And, and it's really important that we pass that down. We just started our Gueret Academy at home. So we're starting K through first right now. And the kids are already singing songs in Ute and they're already counting. And so I can see this video project going right to the school and being able to teach the kids these new songs of our worship songs and stuff. So thank you so much. And it's been fun. And I'm very novice at the videoing and it really shows. But, I'll get better. And it's been just so great. So thank you all so much.
Thank you, Becky. And we wanted to show you one of our first efforts when we first started to raise funds for this project, and so that you can get a sense of what kind of videos we're looking at. And as Becky said, we're going to keep working at getting better. And our intent is to work with all of our Indigenous partners. This is going to be a video of a longtime friend and advisor of ours, Marie Reyna from Taos Pueblo. But Becky has been interviewing elders from her community at Ute Mountain and White Mesa, and also Dene staff, and we will keep going. So we have so many resources to do this project, thanks to all of you. So Taylor, could you show our first video?
I was about 10 when my father brought us up here. And he took us to Mesa Verde. We didn't go anywhere else. He talked about what you could see from the top of Mesa Verde looking north or south. And that was important. To him, it was having an acknowledgement of who we were, to let our ancestors know that we're here and that we come and visit in respect, and that we're not here to disturb you, because these villages, no matter how old they are, have their spirits in each village. I mean, like a three-dimensional world where they're still existing and we're existing. My cousin, when I brought him up, we went to Hovenweek, and he was just walking around. And there's a stream that's still there. And so he said he could hear some ladies talking. But then he realized we weren't there with him. And it made the hair on his back of his neck stand up, and he was hauling. And he told us, and he says, they were there with their vessel getting water. And when we come, we acknowledge our ancestors, but we acknowledge ourselves, and we present ourselves to them. That we come with good intentions. We're not here to disturb you. We're here to observe and learn what it was like back in that time. That's what my dad would tell us.
There's the next generation.
Yeah.
You want to be in the video with your grandma?
Come on, my little bear. Take is his name, Bear Hawk. And Grandpa's teaching him more and more every day, huh?
Oh, there's Grandma.
Oh, you little bear.
Come on, my bear.
But then Tal says they're the oldest, you know. Oh, are there any townspeople here? Right here. Yeah.
I hope everyone enjoyed that. Marie is an incredible person, and we were so happy to be able to document one of the many, many stories that she has blessed us with over the years. Okay, I think next up, we're going to turn it over to our educator, Tyson Hughes, who you saw in the video, getting used to teaching and being on the spot. So Tyson, thank you so much for joining us, and I will turn it over to you to tell us about what the education department has been doing.
Thanks, Liz, and good morning, everyone. As Liz mentioned, we've had to get really creative this last year in how we deliver our programming, and so essentially what we've done is think of absolutely any way that we can engage students. And this has turned into a myriad of different opportunities and programs, some of which were more successful than others. I think the blooper video pretty well illustrated some of our learning curve there. And I do want to say that Becky is definitely much better at being video than she's given herself credit for. So I have a huge amount of appreciation to everyone on Crow Canyon staff for being supportive of this and helping us out in all sorts of ways, really to get our message, our mission out there to any kids that are ready and able to receive it. So this video that you're about to see was put together by Laura Brown and Jeremy Grunvig, who's in our education department. And both of them have been a pretty dynamic duo as far as grasping the technologies and the audiovisual capabilities of some of these ways of reaching people digitally. Because as you know, traditionally we're a hands-on kind of group of people. So anyways, these are just a few of the projects. There are a number of other things that have been worked on, and we're continuing to develop some more projects, including hopefully bringing some youth from the Southern Ute tribe out to our campus in the next few weeks. Fingers crossed that'll work out. Something else that we're going to be doing in the future is working with Montezuma School to Farm, educating their teachers and their AmeriCorps volunteers on Pueblo farming practices, both prehistoric and contemporary. And so we have a lot of irons in the fire. We're going a lot of different directions, but hopefully this video illustrates some of the highlights, some of the better points of what we were able to accomplish this year. So Taylor, take it away.
The Education Department prides itself on delivering meaningful and impactful programming by immersing students in place-based, hands-on experiential curricula. We feel that students learn best when they are staying on our campus and visiting the surrounding rich cultural landscape. The hope has been that we will be able to return to this model in time. We have been continuously trying to adapt to the ever-changing pandemic landscape by welcoming students to engage in any way that they can. This has involved many hybrid programs that attempted to deliver a comparable experience given our limited in-person opportunities. These have largely been offered pro bono to local schools. This has been a challenging and rewarding learning experience for us. Here are some highlights of the many ways that we have navigated these rough waters.
Hi, this is Paul in the Education Department, and I'm just giving a little update on one of the programs we did this year. Since January, we've been working with Open Sky Wilderness Therapy, who are based out of Durango. Once a week, we engage their students who come from all over the country, either here on campus or one of their 2 base camps. Their one camp was out on the Colorado-Utah border, set in the canyon country, pine, juniper covered area. The other was up in the Ponderosa pine forest, a little bit above Dolores. So these students age early adolescence through young adults. And what our objective was to introduce the Open Sky students and their staff to the cultural history of the original people who lived here, and teach them a little bit about an appreciation for the landscape on which they're living. They're living there up to 12 weeks for their program, and so as they get out and wander about on the landscape, we want them to be a little bit aware of what they're seeing, and to realize that people have lived here for thousands of years before them. So anyway, that's one of the things we did here this year, and it's been a great experience for us, and I hope it was for the kids as well.
We were lucky this year to be able to deliver the Outdoor Museum on the Ground program again. This is a cost-free program that's offered to every 4th grade class in Montezuma and Dolores counties. It is a product of the ongoing partnership between Crow Canyon and the Bureau of Land Management Canyons of the Ancients National Monument. This year, 234 students were on our campus, rotating through 5 activity stations designed to connect local youth with the vast public lands and complex culture histories of the region. In addition to the BLM providing funding for the program, they also provided their own lessons and educational staff. This is the first year that we were also able to include educators from Mesa Verde National Park. This collaboration allowed for a program in which the Bureau of Land Management, the National Park Service, and Crow Canyon Archaeological Center were collectively able to engage students from 6 local schools representing 3 districts in on-campus, in-person programming.
Hi, I'm Jeremy, and I'm honored to be part of the education team at Crow Canyon. This year, we had the pleasure to host the 2021 National Endowment for Humanities virtual workshop, where we engaged with 72 educators from across the country. We were honored to be joined by Indigenous scholars, Crow Canyon lab, field, and research staff to deliver 1 week of focused content to 2 separate cohorts. Our education team developed content housed in a learning management system that consisted of readings, videos, and lessons based on the archaeology, Indigenous perspectives, and history of the Mesa Verde region. Partnering with the National Park Service and Mesa Verde National Park, we produced 2 videos with Park Ranger Jill Blumenthal, taking instructors on a virtual tour of Cliff Palace and Farview Village, and 1 video of museum curator Tara Travis in the curation room. Additionally, a story map was created based on the peoples of the Central Mesa Verde region, along with several lesson plans. All these materials are made available to instructors for a year, along with their lesson plans created as part of their final project. To wrap up the season, we are in the process of finishing a story map based on the Lakeview community.
With new partnerships with the Bureau of Land Management, National Park Service, and Open Sky, we hope to incorporate other stakeholders into our mission while simultaneously enhancing theirs. While we look forward to having students in our classrooms again, we are now able to reach a much broader audience of learners through our distance learning options, and will continue to pursue this avenue as well.
Thank you so much, Tyson. I think we have lost your actual face, but that's okay. We're going to be transitioning now to our field director, Dr. Kellum Throgmorton, who is going to update you on the work that we did at the Haynie site and in the field this year. Thanks so much, Kellum.
Oh, thank you, Liz. Really just going to give a brief introduction here to say thank you to all the folks who were involved in the work that we've been doing. Particularly wanted to say thanks to Steve Copeland and Tim Wilcox, Those are the two field archaeologists who many of you have known for a while and who've worked with you out at the Haynie site. I want to thank Jeremy Grundvig, who helped put together the video that you're about to see, that I think Taylor's getting queued up and ready to go. I wanted to thank the staff and participants who've come out and lent a hand with the field work we've been doing. Most of our work this season focused on the Haynie site in terms of field work, and you'll see some of that in the video here in just a second. And I also just wanted to give a thank you to the Pueblo people who built and lived at the Haynie site. I mean, obviously, without them, none of this research and these ideas and these educational programs that we do out at the Haynie site, none of that would be possible. So Taylor, if we're ready and have that queued up, I think we'll let the video take away the rest of this here.
Howdy, my name's Kellum Throgmorton. I'm the field director at the Crow Canyon Archaeological Center. Today, I'm going to give you an overview of the fieldwork endeavors that have been undertaken by Crow Canyon over the last season. Now, I'm coming to you from the Haynie site. You can see some of the standing masonry walls of a Chaco-style great house behind me. As many of you know, Crow Canyon's current project, the Northern Chaco Outliers Project, has been using the Haynie site as its focal point for fieldwork. Now, the Haynie site, we've learned, dates from about AD 780 into the 1200s, with the Chacoan component dating into the late 1000s and the early 1100s. Over the last season, and actually over the last couple of years, Crow Canyon's work is focused on the western side of the site. And in the process of that work, we have discovered that prior to the Chacoan construction, like that you can see behind me, there was in fact a Pueblo village that dated from approximately 780 AD up until 1050, or possibly a little bit later. Now, during this season, we have continued to focus on that western end of the site. I'm going to walk you through and show you some of the places that we've been working. But we've been assisted by a lot of people this year as we've been doing our work. Unlike last season, where we had almost zero public participation as a result of the COVID pandemic, this year we've been able to bring people back in limited numbers. So to kick the season off, we actually had a field school that was supported by the National Science Foundation. It was called the Research Experiences for Undergraduates, and 11 college students from around the country came and helped with the work, learned about the archaeology of the region, conducted laboratory work as well, took field trips, and received instruction and had conversations with many of our native collaborators and colleagues. We also hosted an internship this season where we had 4 public archaeology interns who were working with us out in the field. They learned some of the methods and techniques of excavation within very complicated settings, but they also engaged in outreach by going up to the Mesa Verde National Park and talking with park visitors, and they did lab work as well to supplement what they had done out here in the field. We also had a limited archaeological research program this fall, where adult participants from around the country came and worked alongside field staff out here at the Haynie site, and also conducted laboratory work back at the Crow Canyon campus. In addition to those main programs, we also had several tours over the course of the season, both to avocational groups and professionals. So for example, we gave a series of tours that were associated with the PECOS conference, an annual regional conference that's hosted in various places around the Southwest. Since the conference was hosted in Mancos, Colorado this year, we figured it would be a great opportunity to show some of the work and the research that we've been doing here at the Haynie site and in the Lakeview group that surrounds us more generally. So what I'm going to do here in a moment is walk through these different parts of the site and give you just a quick overview of some of the things that we've been working on during the past season. I'm here next to structure 1101, which we think dates to the Middle Pueblo II period, somewhere right around 1000, 1020 AD. Now, we're really interested in this structure, both because of its well-preserved masonry walls. We're going to get a good sense of the construction techniques of the era, but also because it seems to be a room within what we might consider a single household habitation. It seems to represent a transition from the multi-household habitations that characterized the 800s and the 900s, and the single household dwellings that are more typical of the middle 1000s and the Chacoan era at the end of the 1000s and the early 1100s. It's going to tell us a lot about how society changed here at the Haynie site through time. Structure 1101 is part of the surface habitation rooms that form part of a larger household suite that includes a pit structure, structure 1047, located to the south. We've mentioned this structure before, but this season we continued work in one quarter of that pit structure, exposing portions of the upper masonry lining wall, the bench surface, and the masonry lining of the bench. One goal of the 2021 season was to get a better understanding of the scale, layout, orientation, and history of a large multi-household building located at the northwest corner of the site. So we chose to use the field school as an opportunity to put in a couple of test units that were designed to look for architecture and to seek intact midden deposits. In both cases, we were in luck. We found portions of the western side of this building, and we also found some of the most intact midden deposits that we've yet encountered at the Haynie site. Now, the importance of this area is that it gives us a much better understanding of how this community transitioned from a Pueblo I village during the 800s into a still aggregated but different kind of community during the 900s. And we think we're finding evidence of that right here. We've begun a more detailed investigation of the landscape that surrounds the Haynie site and forms the backdrop for the Lakeview community. As part of this, we're beginning to study the watershed that flows down past the Haynie site. We really want to understand how the availability of water may, at various times of the year, may have affected the agricultural potential of this landscape. So for now, we've got kind of a coarse-grained look at it, but future studies are going to incorporate more soils data and a more detailed topographic map. Archaeology isn't just about excavation, and this year, we decided to take a deep dive into the archives to gain a better understanding of the West Greathouse, which is right here. Now, of course, about 90% of this building was removed in the 1980s with a backhoe, but we have notes, records, maps, and photographs from Claudia Haynie that gave us a much better understanding of the history of this building, and it revealed that it was a complex structure with a long history. And in fact, we've come to the conclusion that this eastern side of the West Greathouse at the Haynie site may have had an early version of a greathouse dating sometime prior to 1050.
So thanks very much. I hope that gives you a little bit of an overview of the kind of things we've been working on this year. We're looking forward to some new things in the year to come. So once again, thanks for your interest and for your support.
Thank you so much, Kellum, and for the incredible work of the whole team out there. And I'm really excited to introduce Jamie Merriweather, who is in charge of our collections and is just a generally wonderful person and scholar. And we're so excited to hear what you've been up to in the lab, Jamie.
Hi, thank you. Good morning, everybody. That was great, Kellum. I just wanted to thank right off the bat other people that work in the lab, Kate Hughes, Michelle Turner, Ben Bellarato, and his video is going to come up in a minute, and Susan Montgomery, who helps us keep organized and does a lot of data entry, works part-time, and Robin Lyle, who's our intrepid volunteer who looks at temper and looks up minerals and does all kinds of stuff for us. This year, we didn't have any volunteers really, so it was a tough one for us, but we had a lot of stuff we still needed to do, so the staff, our limited staff, was able to still catalog and process and analyze and do data entry of all kinds of categories of artifacts. So we kept up with it, but it was kind of a struggle. But Ben's video, we'll talk a little bit more about some of the new and exciting things that he's done and is in our future, and some of the things we did this year. So go ahead with it, Taylor. Hello. Thank you.
Well, howdy. My name is Dr. Ben Bellarato, and I'm the lab director here at Crow Canyon Archaeological Center. And today I'm excited to be speaking with you all about some of the recent things we've been doing in the lab. And in my brief time, I just wanted to let you know that we just finished a great program season where we worked with college field school students, interns, Pueblo advisory group members, and adult research participants. Now, Michelle Turner, one of our postdoctoral scholars, will be giving an update on the results from the LCAP project later at some other point in this meeting. So I'll try to just cover a few of the many other things that we've been up to in the lab. So obviously, running even reduced programs was difficult this year, but we managed to provide great learning experiences for our participants in fulfillment of our mission. For example, for the recent ARP program, we developed several new analyses that drew on backlogs of artifacts we don't normally get to work with participants on. because this year we needed singular artifacts that individuals could work on independently without the potential for cross-contamination. And these included a new shaped and modified sherd analysis that we developed, and that will help us to understand how occupants of Haynie recycled broken pottery for use as pottery scrapers for making new pottery, paint palettes, and for use in paint processing, plant processing, among other things. Now, we also had participants help us with the new Pueblo II pottery design analysis that I've been developing with Michelle Turner and Carrie Schleyer, and we were able to finally get through a number of the exhausted cores and core tools that don't usually get analyzed by participants. We also processed dozens of flotation samples and watched hundreds of artifacts, both in the lab and in the field, which are all activities that we could safely do either outside or in well-ventilated spaces with masks. As you know, or many of you know at least, Crow Canyon also hosted our first dendroarchaeology intern this summer. And under my supervision, Katie Portman, a graduate student at the University of Arizona, analyzed and cross-dated the majority of the tree ring samples recovered from Haynie on our new tree ring measuring station. This equipment was purchased for us by the Light Advances in Research Fund via the Research Institute. And Katie did a phenomenal job of sorting through the samples and updating some of our dendroarchaeology education modules. And based on the work she did for us, we can confirm that some of the earliest occupations of the Haynie site date back to at least the 700s. Late 700s AD, with a series of 26 new tree ring dates, 19 of which are cutting dates from structure 1024. Now, structure 1024 is a deeply buried pit house under the southwestern corner of the Haynie West Great House. Now, this pit house and its burned roof were excavated in 2009 under the supervision of Steve Copeland and with the help of one of the ARP folks, Scott Evans. Now, they did a great job of excavating and mapping the roof and with extracting the dendro samples. And you can see this great roof map, this great samples from the roof that they were able to clean off and take some of these samples. This was the perfect teaching opportunity for Katie to learn how to analyze tree ring samples with the science and the art of tree ring dating. Now, later during the ARP program, we were able to present these preliminary results to the group, including to Scott Evans, who got to see the fruits of his labors and was really excited to see these things. The few other examples that we dated from the rest of Haynie returned a near cutting date of AD 1000 and several non-cutting dates of in the AD 900s. Now, we're gearing up for next year's Dendro Intern, and we are hoping to sample live trees around the Lakeview community to develop paleoclimatological and hydrological models for the larger NCOP project. So the Moonhouse VR project is a new Crow Canyon endeavor that developed out of the work I started during my dissertation research in newly restored Bears Ears National Monument. The project was selected for additional funding this year with a $77,000 budgeted cooperative agreement with the Monticello Field Office of the Bureau of Land Management in southeastern Utah. And in this new agreement with Crow Canyon as the lead and myself as the principal investigator will allow Crow Canyon team members and our collaborators at the universities of Southern California and University of Arizona to consult with several tribal governments to develop an educational virtual reality exhibit of the cliff dwelling of Moonhouse on Cedar Mesa, and to develop additional tribal educational modules for the use by specific tribes in their youth education efforts. Now we're in the process of setting up meetings with several tribal governments. And last month, we met with the Tribal Council of the Ute Mountain Utes and their tribal historic preservation officers, whom are excited to participate in the project. And next month, we're going to meet with the Tribal Council of the Pueblo Zuni. And just this week, we met with Jim Anote, a noted Zuni tribal member, traditional farmer, and former director of the Shiwi Awan Museum, about the best practices and ethical methods of developing virtual reality reality platforms for tribal engagement. And we've also been in contact with the tribal historic preservation offices of the Navajo Nation and Hopi tribe about the project, and we hope to set up in-person or virtual meetings with these tribal nations in the coming months. Last month, my colleague who's in charge of the virtual reality modeling aspect of the project, Dr. Eric Heller at the University of Southern California, and I were able to conduct a mop-up image capture of the Moonhouse site and to finish up the 3D model, which is just looking spectacular. Well, I'm just about out of time, but all of us in the lab are excited about the projects that we're involved in moving forward into the fall and the winter. And we just received a big batch of bags and paperwork from this summer's excavations at Haynie. And we're all excited to start getting these materials processed and analyzed, and then reporting on what we find to you folks and to the public. And so, well, we wish you all, we're here in the flesh, but we look forward to seeing you in person soon. Thanks from everybody in the lab, and have a great day.
Thank you so much, Jamie and Ben. Fantastic work and fantastic video, and so much going on. And with that, we will transition over to Dr. Susan Ryan, our Chief Mission Officer, who's going to talk to you about our intern program.
Thanks, Liz. And hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. It is my pleasure to introduce you to the next video featuring Crow Canyon's 2021 interns, specializing in public archaeology, education, facilities management, and dendroarchaeology. But before I do so, I'd like to point out that our competitive internship program has been extremely influential in the training of the next generation of professionals since it began in 1988. Since that time, 375 interns have gone through our programs. Many of our interns went on to graduate school and are now working as professionals in various fields, including cultural resource management, academia, public education, museum education, as cultural specialists for tribal communities, and as CEOs for nonprofits like our very own Dr. Elizabeth Perry. Needless to say, we are very proud of this incredible program we have built over the last 33 years and look forward to training future generations in the years to come. Please enjoy this next video produced by Laura Brown of Crow Canyon's 2021 intern cohort. Thank you.
I'm Andres. I'm just over here doing some brownstone analysis, going over some stuff we did with the college field school here a couple weeks ago, and here we're just analyzing some of the groundstone artifacts that we've got, looking at some wear patterns, going over the measurements that we took, going over the concept they made, and just checking over some of the sketches of the artifacts that the students did. So they're a bunch of rock stars, so it's making my job real easy.
Alright, so this is called heavy fractioning. What we did earlier is we took some float samples where we separated this, which is heavy, and then some lighter stuff, which is in the lab over there. What we're doing is we're sorting through all the dirt, looking for stuff like, I have some bone over here, some flakes. I got some bigger shards right here. And we're looking for like beads, bones, pieces of pottery, stuff like that.
Hello, I am doing some tree ring analysis. So I'm Katie, I'm the dendroarchaeology intern. And this is a sample from the Haynie site of a burned beam from a pit house underneath the structure there. And I am currently measuring the rings, and then I'm gonna see if I can match it up with our master record and figure out the year that this tree was cut down. It's pretty sweet.
So I'm Kelsey Hoppus. I'm a public archaeology intern, and I'm from Boulder, Colorado. And I am just watching some artifacts before we can start to catalog them and do analysis on them. So originally they're brought into the field, they're sorted over here, and then once they're inputted into the Crow Canyon system, we then are able to wash them. And then we put them on the drying racks, which are over here. And once they are all dried, that's when we can input them to the database. So I have just like a couple different types of artifacts here. We have ceramic sherds, which are in pieces. Some of them are painted and really cool looking. And then we also have lithic flakes. So this is like basically the trash from making the stone tools.
That was fantastic. Thank you so much, Susan and Laura, for making such a fantastic video of our interns. And next, I'd like to introduce Dr. Mark Varian, the Executive Vice President of our Research Institute, to let you know what they've been up to.
Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for your long-term support of all we do at Crow Canyon. I am Mark Varian, and I'm with the Research Institute at Crow Canyon. The Crow Canyon Board of Directors established the Research Institute in 2014 to expand the capacity of Crow Canyon's research in all three of our mission areas: long-term archaeological research, education, and Native American partnerships and indigenous archaeology. The Institute provides new research opportunities for Crow Canyon's staff, for our many research associates, and from researchers worldwide who want to work with Crow Canyon. Together, this network of scholars uses the data collected by Crow Canyon during the last 38 years to address big and fundamental questions about the human experience. We've got a video to show you of Crow Canyon's Institute staff members who will give you a sample of some of the projects we've been working on in 2021. Enjoy. Hi everybody, I'm Mark Varian, the Executive Vice President of the Research Institute at Crow Canyon. I've been really busy in 2021 working on a current grant we have, the Maze Database Project, also administering the activities of the Research Institute and working on research publications. I do my work at the Institute with 4 Institute staff members. Paul Ermagiotti is part-time on the Institute staff and also works with our team of educators at Crow Canyon. And his work for the Institute focuses on the Pueblo Farming Project, a long-standing collaboration with Hopi. Grant Coffey is the Research Database Manager, and that means he provides research from 40 years of Crow Canyon's research. He provides those data to Crow Canyon's staff and to external researchers, as well as working on his own research and research publications. Michelle Turner is the center's first postdoctoral scholar, having completed her PhD at the State University of New York in Binghamton. Michelle has been working on a variety of artifact analyses on Crow Canyon's projects, but mostly focused on work with the Northern Chaco Outliers Project. Jonathan Dombrowski is our newest postdoctoral fellow. He just completed his PhD at the University of New Mexico. Jonathan does many things as a part of his postdoctoral fellowship, but the focus of it is analyzing the animal bones that have come from our excavations at the Haynie site, our current field project. So I'm really excited for you to hear from each of these staff members about the work that they've been doing in 2021 and want to thank you for your support of the Research Institute and Crow Canyon.
Hi, I'm Paul, and I'm in the Education Department and in the Research Institute. I am responsible for a big part of the Pueblo farming project, which we've been doing every year since 2008, where we've worked with Native American farmers, mostly from Hopi. And this year we have had a rather difficult summer. We had an extremely hot June and July. And right now we're sitting at about 9.5 inches of precipitation for the growing year, where we would typically be receiving about 12 inches. And we'll be harvesting here in about another week or so. In January, I'll compile all that data and we'll have our results. So anyway, that's the report from the garden.
Hi, my name's Grant Coffey. I'm the Research Database Manager here at Crow Canyon, and I do a lot of different things. My main job is to maintain and oversee the database, the research database here at Crow Canyon, but we also do a lot of photogrammetry and other things that I'm involved in. What we're looking at here on the screen is actually a vessel from Wallace Ruin that was analyzed by Crow Canyon staff, and they did a whole vessel analysis, our whole vessel analysis on this particular pot. All of the blue rectangles are where a camera was when it took a frame that was used to create the model. So you can see there's a halo above, kind of a halo just about the rim level of the vessel, and then we flipped the vessel over and took another halo of photos down here. When I say we, I mean Kate Hughes, who works in the lab, took all the photos for this, and Jamie Merriweather and Michelle Turner and others actually did the whole vessel analysis. And one other thing that we did as part of the process is we put in markers on the vessel. So if we zoom in, there's these little blue pieces of tape with a black dot in the middle, and we measured the distance between those. So we can actually use those markers to look at how much air is in the model that we created, because we know the distance between those pieces of blue tape. We can export this as a 3-dimensional file that can be uploaded to a website called Sketchfab. If you go to sketchfab.com/Crow Canyon, you'll see some of the models that we've created. You can add links to videos, you can add content about particular features, and it's a good way to disseminate and share this for distance learning or online curriculum.
Hi, my name is Michelle Turner. I'm a postdoctoral scholar here at Crow Canyon. I split my time between the Research Institute and the lab where we are today. I have been working on analysis of artifacts from the Wallace Great House, which is one of the sites in the Lakeview community. It's not the one we're excavating, but we're just looking at artifacts from this site. And I wanted to tell you today about some of the new analysis, ongoing analysis that we're doing right now, which is looking at temper from pottery sherds from this site. So I have some of our beautiful pottery sherds here. And one of the big questions from the Northern Chaco Outliers Project is about relationships between these sites here in Southwest Colorado and Chaco Canyon or other parts of the ancestral Pueblo and region. And pottery can tell us a lot about that. I'm sitting here in front of the microscope because what we are doing is studying the temper on certain pottery sherds. We're trying to get at where pottery came from. We know that pottery moved around a lot in this time period, and we'd like to see if we could identify some of that non-local pottery that was traded here or made its way here. The bottom sherd is a local sherd, more of the typical local clay here, and it would have crushed rock, and there's actually a piece of crushed rock right there that you can see, I think, in this image. In addition, this fall, one of the things we really want to do is try to find sherds that are from Aztec ruins. So Aztec is north of Chaco, but not as far north as we are. It actually would make a lot of sense for us to be finding sherds here, but they have temper that is very similar to the local temper. So we're going to have to drill down and find the differences based on my experience at Aztec ruins, and also our lab manager, Ben Bellarado, has done a lot of analysis there. So that's the exciting new analysis that we're working on. Thank you so much for joining us today, and I'm so happy to be working on this research here at Crow Canyon.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Dombrowski. I'm the new postdoctoral scholar here at Crow Canyon. I just started at the beginning of August. Well, first off, my job is to look at faunal material, non-human animal remains, bones and teeth and things like that, and identify them. I will take one of these flats, of all these bags have bones in them or different proveniences at the Haynie site. And I come over here and I kind of dump out one of these bags, and every one of these fragments I go through and record data on. Does it have any evidence of, say, burning like this one does? Actually, a lot of bones in this assemblage, in this small assemblage here, show evidence of burning, but a specific type of burning called localized burning, which is indicative of roasting animals. And we can start asking really important questions about the Haynie site and the Lakeview community in general. How were people making decisions about food, given certain environmental or socio-environmental circumstances? The other thing that we're working on, kind of how we have big mammals, a lot of, say, like bison at the site, which are not thought to be hanging out. Bison aren't thought to be hanging out so much in this area at that time. They might migrate a little bit over, a couple wanderers, but it's very likely that these bison are being traded for. And so understanding exchange is another really important thing. How does a community like the Lakeview community exchange with other people, other communities outside of it, for resources and things like that? What are these connections? What is the nature of these connections? And so we can answer that or help answer these kinds of questions with faunal material.
That was fantastic. Thank you, Research Institute. You guys are you're dancing there in the lab. Mark's turn is be off. Okay, well, our next presenter is going to be our Chief Outreach Officer, Sarah Payne, and my friend in using interpretive rodent puppets in our work. So, Sarah, please let us know what's going on with the Outreach Department.
Thank you, Liz. Hi, everybody. I believe I have the pleasure of showing you our final video that will give you a summary of some of our cultural explorations and outreach activities this year. And I just want to do a special thank you to our safety committee, which is an assemblage of employees across the organization who have done a deep dive into our safety practices and have worked tirelessly, combing through every detail, every possible anticipated scenario that you can imagine in order to conduct our activities safely this year. So just a shout out to our program staff and our safety committee for taking on that heavy lift this year. And I'd also just want to thank all of you and our supporters out there for making our work possible. And the video really speaks for itself. So I'll let Taylor take it away. Thank you. Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Sarah Payne. I'm the Chief Outreach Officer at Crow Canyon. I oversee all the activities in the realm of cultural explorations and outreach. And the team that I have the pleasure of working with include Taylor Hasbrook, Laura Brown, David Boyle, Kate Thompson, and Adam Paxtetter. This year's work focused on making the greatest mission impact at a distance through our digital programming efforts, which included the weekly webinar series, as well as our first ever virtual Navajo weaving workshop. The webinar series is managed by Taylor Hasbrook, and with your support, Crow Canyon's Discover Archaeology webinar series has become a powerful new tool to advance our mission and broaden our wide community of learners at a distance. The presentations have attracted viewers from every state in the country, and we have reached audiences worldwide. This virtual format makes Crow Canyon's mission more accessible and increases awareness of Indigenous knowledge and cutting-edge scientific research. This year, our webinar series was supported by a number of entities, including grants from the Register of Professional Archaeologists and the Colorado Council of Professional Archaeologists, as well as the Community Foundation serving Southwest Colorado. A member of our Board of Trustees offered up a challenge match to the tune of $50,000, which further encouraged private donations in support of the series. Several organizations partnered with Crow Canyon in sponsoring different speakers, and as you know, several of our Crow Canyon staff served as moderators, speakers, and community connectors, which are all important roles when we can't be involved in many in-person events. Led by Adam Kackstetter, the Weaving on the Web workshop launched in May with 40 participants zooming in from 16 different states. With the unique hybrid of live Zoom sessions, virtual tours, and pre-recorded videos, participants created their own basket while engaging in lively discussions of Navajo history, technologies, and the cultural significance of traditional and contemporary weavings. With the help of Dylan Schwint and TJ Zark, the new website launched on August 25th. Crow Canyon hosts one of the largest archaeological data archives in the United States. Along with its extensive collection of site reports and educational resources, the website serves as a critical portal for a wide community of learners. This fall, we attempted a few small group travel seminars by invitation only that provided engagement opportunities for the people whose programs were canceled last year. These programs are an important way for us to connect with people, not only to share Crow Canyon's research, but to talk about how that research plays an important role for many of the challenges facing our communities today. We are looking forward to the staff retreat at the end of the month when we can gather together and make some deliberate choices for what we want to do in 2022 that gives us the best mission impact and enables us to deepen our relationships with our Crow Canyon community. We are profoundly grateful for the colleagues at Crow Canyon, as well as our associates and tribal partners near and far who collaborated with us on these activities.
Thank you so much, Sarah. What a fantastic video. And as Sarah said, we tentatively dipped our toe back in the water of travel programs for the folks who, unfortunately, the year before had their programs canceled. And we'll be talking a little bit more about what we're hoping to do in 2020 next. I'd next like to reintroduce our board chair, Dr. Ricky Lightfoot, who is going to give an update on the general financial status of the organization. So welcome, Ricky, and I will put up your slide.
Okay, well, thank you. Wow, that's some hard acts to follow. That's a great staff, and the staff has done such a terrific job this year of improving our ability to deliver our mission through video and live web streaming. And so it's such an impressive transition that we've gone through from, as Tyson said, being a primarily hands-on, out in the field kind of an organization to be in a on-the-screen webinar video kind of a education organization. But what a remarkable transition and how appropriate for the time. Now, Liz, my screen shows that off-centered a bit, and you can't really see all the numbers on there. So if we could get that.
Give me 1 sec, Ricky. I'll see what I can do.
Well, I want to say while she's doing that, and before I get into the numbers, I want to tell you that first of all, the numbers look very good. What you'll be seeing is a projection of where we anticipate being at year end based on where we are today, both in terms of revenue and expenses, and kind of a snapshot view of our statement of financial positions, which shows our assets and liabilities. But I want to put this into a bit of a context that when Liz Perry came on as the new president and CEO in 2018, there were some, we all knew we had difficulties, some financial, some morale and so forth. And so she stepped in and started working her way through the problems, figuring out what the problems were. And by early 2019, she announced to the board that we were in far worse financial position than we had been led to believe up until that point. And so she made a 3-year turnaround plan in which we were to be going from, in 2019, looking at a more than $1 million deficit, more than $1 million discrepancy between our income and our expenses. So the 3-year plan really projected a sequence of steps in which we would first cut costs, secondly, bring into balance our revenue and expenses, and by the end of the 3rd year to be cash positive, 0 debt, and so forth. So what I present to you today is the results of the 3rd year of that turnaround plan. And you can see if you just look on the bottom line on the presentation on the left for operating revenue and expenses, you'll see that we're about $630,000 to the positive in terms of our revenue versus our expenses. And I'll just direct your attention a little bit to a few numbers on that side, or a few bars on those colored circles. If you look at the purple bars, that's our charitable giving, and that's about 35% of our revenue. About 25% comes from endowment distributions. That means earnings that we take from our endowment that are distributed to cover our operating expenses. And the yellow bars are the grant funding that we raise. In 2021 and in 2020, we had some unique funding opportunities through the payroll protection program, or the paycheck protection program. So those are one-time numbers, additions to our revenue, but we still recognize that we are on a positive track that's going to allow us to keep moving ahead. And I also would direct your attention to the gray bars that are the fund from revenue from programs. And if you have looked at our numbers over the years, you'll see that revenue from programs has gone from about 60% in decades before to what you see there as 6%. Not that we're intending to hold it at that number, but it's a dramatic change in our dependence on revenue from programs to be able to deliver our mission. And that's partly through the dramatic changes, of course, and the learning curve that our staff has engaged in, and led by Liz through this transition to be able to go from a live, on the ground, hands-on kind of a learning place to more something that's not only suited to today, but suited to our move into the future. I'll also just briefly say, if you look at the first two clusters of numbers, the top one is our assets. Those include both current and long-term assets. And then look at our liabilities. There's no one who wouldn't like to have that balance between our current assets and our current liabilities. So it's we're in really positive shape in terms of the numbers. And I would say we're in really positive shape in terms of the directions that we put in place. So the steps that Liz outlined for the turnaround plan were remarkably insightful, even though they were a year before we knew that there would be a pandemic. So given the challenges of operating and changing our business model during a pandemic, but also to come out with this strong a positive number. What I want to also emphasize is that we are strongly dependent on charitable giving, and that means that we can't do this going forward without your help. So we appreciate the charitable giving and contributions and grants that many of you have participated in helping us. And I encourage you to continue, because as you could see from the presentations today, the staff is doing great work They have not slowed down in their commitment and their dedication to teaching. They're just having to learn new ways to present it. And I think we will all benefit because we can reach so many more people through the web and through these distance learning kinds of opportunities that could ever have come to our campus. So I'm really grateful to Liz and the staff for leading us through this transition to where we are today. A few of the presentations talked about the kinds of programs that we have been gradually introducing. And I would say our model for on-the-ground programming here on our campus and our travel programs will be to continue to build on the things that are successful and to continue to add little by little as we develop new kinds of strategies for delivering our program live, and always following the guidance of our safety committee, who has been remarkable in this period of time in helping us negotiate these risks, the public health risks, and to really make sure that we follow our number one rule. When the pandemic started and we closed our programs, we set out a series of goals. The number one goal was to don't make anybody sick. And that meant our participants as well as our staff and our community members. And so I think we've done a remarkable job. The staff's done a remarkable job at following through, at having the public health concerns and commitment to the health of our larger community be at the forefront of our thinking and our planning. So with that, I'm going to turn it back to Liz to talk about 2022 and beyond.
Thank you so much, Ricky. I am just going to shift over to our last slide and some of the questions that we are getting often right now. We're incredibly grateful that all of our supporters and participants and students have been peppering us with questions of what's going to happen in 2022. What kind of activities are you going to do? Are you still impacted by COVID? When can we come and work side by side and travel with you? So I wanted to give a few things that we're pretty sure we're going to be able to do or planning to do next year. The one we certainly are going to be able to do next year because primarily of all of the generous giving is to continue to offer our free webinar series. We will be working and brainstorming on new and exciting things that we can do with our webinar series, but that is a permanent program now for us. We've just been absolutely thrilled at being able to reach so many people across the country and actually across the world with our webinar series. We are also going to run, we have another year of the National Science Foundation grant that Dr. Susan Ryan obtained in order to support our college field school students. There's a little picture here under the bubble of our students who did really incredible research projects while they were here and came back and presented the results of their research at the PECOS conference that Mark and the Research Institute folks also attended this year. So we know that's happening. We are continuing with our intern program, which Susan described, which is really a signature program for Crow Canyon. So many of us here have been interns actually and field school students in the past at Crow Canyon. We also have another year of a grant from the National Endowment for the Humanities to teach teachers. And as you saw in some of the videos, the teachers were working, being taught remotely with interactive Zooms and videos and teaching sessions. And we are hoping to be able to actually host them on campus this year for that teachers workshop. And finally, we, as Tyson and Becky and Paul and the other educators described, we were able to have outdoor programs for students on campus, and we will definitely be doing that again this year. And we're so grateful to everyone, all of your contributions and donations support being able to train the future scholars, future leaders, teachers who reach students and really spread the impact of cultural understanding and understanding of our shared human history far and wide. we get a lot of questions from those of you who would like, members of the public and our friends and supporters and participants who would like to come and work with us and travel with us again. So we are working on that right now. It's a little later than in pre-COVID years we would have advertised programs, but we're still doing some analysis, some research as to how can we offer and execute on these programs safely. And our word of the year has been pivot. How can we, if we advertise programs and there's a change in the external environment that prevents us from delivering them, we want to have other options ready so that we are always able to bring our mission to the world. So we are hoping to be able to give you some more information soon on the programs that you might be able to come and join us on in 2022. So with that, I think that moves us into kind of the end with some question Q&A and any closing remarks by our chair. I think I'll turn it back to Taylor to let us know if there's some questions that anyone would like. Any of us are happy to. You could ask questions of anybody that you've seen here today.
Hi, Liz. We have one question that's came in so far. It says, with 22% of income source being one-time PPP funding, how do you plan to compensate for this funding not being available for 2022?
All right. Well, we were well aware of that. We were extremely grateful to be able to receive the PPP funding. As some of you may know who had been involved in these kinds of federal programs, it's really the Paycheck Protection Plan. So that PPP funding went to help cover our staff salaries and some additional expenses related to our facility. We have a rolling forecast that we update every quarter, and we anticipate the way that we forecasted finishing 2021 and entering into 2022. We are in good shape with respect to being able to go forth without that funding. We were also able to make sure that we were engaged in saving and investing costs that we didn't have to incur during the pandemic, so that we've got a good safety net going forward. Ricky, you're on mute, but if you'd like to contribute to that answer, that would be great. You're still muted, Ricky.
I'm on view, but I wasn't unmuted. So I was also just answering the other part of that question, which had to do with the fundraising costs of that are reflected in there, the 9%. The fundraising does include the salary, benefits, and travel of the advancement staff members, as well as printing and mailing and other costs associated with the communications that go along with that. Some of that includes Liz's travel when it specifically relates to fundraising. So we feel like if you look at the revenue that comes from gifts and grants compared to the expenses that we have, we think we're in pretty good alignment with where we should be as a nonprofit.
Thanks, Ricky. I did see pop up in the chat, which Taylor answered, people seeing the picture of Jim Martin in the kitchen and wondering if he had come out of retirement. He has not. It would make us all very happy if he did, but we are able to persuade him to join some of our programs, and our Cuisine Through Time program this year involves some cooking from our famous and much beloved former chef here at Crow Canyon.
And we had another question come in as well. It says, how can members be involved at a distance? Is there a way to access distance learning opportunities apart from the webinars?
Yes, absolutely. And as you saw some of the presentation from Sarah Payne, we had a workshop led by our amazing staff member, Adam Kackstetter, who did the Weaving on the Web workshop, which involved being able to stay at home. Adam mailed out packets of materials and books and supplies, and then folks were able to engage with our native scholars and hear lectures from other folks as well. So we're working on seeing if we can design something else like that. The education staff I know has been primarily teaching younger students in schools who had a real need for distance education. Parents had a real need when they had kids at home to be able to supplement those lesson plans. But yes, we're definitely working on that. A lot of our participants and supporters over the years who have been able to come on travel programs have been indicating that they don't necessarily want to be camping in the backcountry anymore, but they would still love to be able to engage with our scholars. So that's something we have had some experience with this year, and we're really looking forward to developing some new programs.
Those are all our questions for the time being.
Yep, we're coming pretty much close to the end of our hour. And I think our last was any closing remarks from our chairman.
No, I just want to reiterate how appreciative we are of all the support, and I thank you all for joining us today. And I know that it reflects a concern about Crow Canyon and how we're doing, and I appreciate the comments and the support from all of you, both regarding to the outcome of our 3-year turnaround. I think, as you can tell, I'm really pleased with it. The board as a whole is really pleased with the work the staff has done. And I think you can also see from the presentations today that they're really a class group of people that have really started perfecting their skills at delivering these messages and images and videos. So we've come a long way from those first sort of crackly, wind-blowing, noisy videos that people put out, but they're all real, and they're all our folks doing the real work. So I just want to express my gratitude and thank you for your continuing support.
Thank you, Ricky, and all of us here on staff would like to echo that. All of our supporters and contributors and donors, so many of them are also our very close friends. For all of us on the staff here at Crow Canyon, we would not be doing what we're doing without your support and your friendship. And we would also not be doing what we're doing without the generous partnership and help of Indigenous people and our Indigenous scholars, all through past, present, and future. So thank you to everyone who makes what we do here at Crow Canyon possible, and we're so looking forward to being able to see more of you and interact with more of you, whether online or in person, and hopefully both. And thank you to our wonderful staff for all of the videos. Maybe our staff could pop their videos on just for a second and wave goodbye to everyone. We wish we could see all of your faces as well, but hopefully we'll be seeing them soon. And please reach out to any of us if you have any questions.
Thank you.
Have a great fall.